welcome to the Mental Health Impact Series presented by Reach Out Together, mental health awareness organization, and we are dedicated to encouraging people to go reach out and seek help. Professional help, self-help, help is help. We just want to encourage you to get out and get help. Today on our episode, we have the one and only Taylor Lawrence Abrahamse. Taylor is a professional singer, a songwriter, and a voice actor. He is also the co-founder of a professional recording studio, Silverthorn Studios, where he recently created a debut record while being developed by the legendary Grammy-winner producer and engineer, Eddie Kramer. Taylor uses his original music to advocate for authentic self-expression, covering daring topics such as gender dysphoria and complexities of mental health. Thank you so much, Taylor, for being on our show today. It is such an honor and a pleasure to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good after that very generous introduction. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Why don't we start with a little brief introduction on your profession and what you currently do and the organization that you founded.
Well, what I do is I'm a singer-songwriter and a voice actor by trade, and so that can involve writing songs for other people and acting in cartoon shows and things like that. That's what I do for a big part of my living. But I am ultimately it's about the context that you bring into something. That's what makes it, exciting or whatever. Like you could be flipping burgers, but if you've got a context that empowers you, then you're off to the races. But so for me, it's about exactly what you said. Encouraging authentic self-expression. One wonderful thing that has always stuck with me that a coach told me was, there's only one of you that ever gets to exist in all of human history, and as far as we know, anyway. And your job is just to let that out, let that channel be open. It's not your job to like it. Especially as a creative person, you can hate most of what you conjure up, but it's not your job to like it. It's just your job to let that channel be open, or else that little flicker that's you in human history just is gone and never had a chance to present itself. Jim Carrey says some similar things about people who can spend their whole life trying to do the thing that's going to make them successful and still fail at it. Right. It's like, so really doing what you want and communicating how you want to. And in the music industry in 2019, that's it seems like a very daring thing because so much music is so fake, and there's more and more of a mandate to play incredibly safe, just with the nature of budgets and how music is constructed. Right. Like how social media is a feedback loop, music's a feedback loop as well. It's like, well, you're going to see a lot more trap music and things like that. And as you do. Mm-hmm.
What does maintaining positive mental health mean to you? And why do you think we need to talk about this?
About positive mental health? Well, it's the foundation of everything. You can eke your way through life without having your well-being together, but it's going to catch up with you eventually. And for me, what I've experienced throughout my life is from the time I was about 13 years old, I've dealt with just feelings of numbness and sadness and guilt that are like very strong and irrational. And I liken it to Beethoven almost, where he was deaf and he was making music. For me, that's what it's like. It's like I can feel the sensations, the vibrations of these feelings underneath this big cloud of something, this mask. And So if I write something I can actually feel despite all that, then it's like, okay, I've hit on something worthwhile, you know? Um, but okay, to answer your question, it's important because you can go through your life getting comfortable with the numbness or with things not functioning at 100%, and then start to assume that that's your 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going through life missing out on life itself. And you know, unless you've got a lobotomy, eventually that catches up with you and you realize, what's the point of anything I'm doing? I'm not enjoying myself. The world is collapsing. How can I find a way to enjoy myself and support the world at the same time?
So when would you say was a moment from 13 years old that you realize that you need help, or that this is not you, that there's better out there, right? Because you were still going through life and you were still producing music, you were doing really well in your career.
Mm-hmm.
You were still progressing, but at what point would you say you acknowledged that something may be wrong and that you sought help for it?
Right. Well, initially, so I had an incredible childhood. And so it was really clear to me right away that something was wrong near the start of high school. I really rushed into high school. I went into it a year early. I was under a lot of pressure and I was just feeling really emotionally drained. And I wasn't talking to anyone about it. I grew up in small town Ontario, and growing up as a guy, especially in small town Ontario, at least back then, I'm sure the same stigma still is around depending on your family and your upbringing. It just seemed like I'd established this image for myself of this upbeat, driven musician who was going to take the world by storm. And so I just felt this obligation to maintain that no matter what. And I didn't know how to do anything else. So I just kept on doing it, but I was doing it out of fear. And it killed me. It was the darkest years of my life were high school. I did speak to my father a bit about this, and I had a little bit of medication back then, and went to a therapist a little bit. But the medication was like 3 days of me just grogged out of my mind, and I was really scared to try medication again after that. But what happened was a few years into university, I found a leadership course, a personal growth course, which, isn't therapeutic in nature per se, but it allowed me to really see a lot of the ways in which I'd constructed my identity, rather than life being this thing that beats you down. It's more your interpretation to life is the thing that's beating you down. And I got to really see that crystal clear for the first time in my life. And there used to be a lot of literally like paranoid thoughts that would go through my head. So that stopped. That just stopped after taking this course. It's a 3-day course called the Landmark Forum.
Right.
And, I did a few different things through them as time went on. And all of that really made a big difference for me in getting distance and getting perspective with my mind, and giving me a community that held me accountable to who I said I was, who you declare yourself to be versus, the you that you wake up with in the morning. That's like, I don't want to get out of bed, less, and what's great is if you keep on taking bigger and bigger things on in your life, they could be crazy. You may have no idea how to fulfill on them, but it's, throw your hat over the fence and find a way to do it. Right. And so for me, I found a lot of power in taking on things that were generous, or things that were just really bold, like making a recording studio and, having this pro studio by the age of 25 with my business partner. or, you know, I put together these variety shows. It was part of a program I was taking at Landmark. And the variety shows were all about celebrating the human condition fully. And it was called Everyone's Human. And so we would have a guy who was a laughologist. So he would talk about the science of laughter and have laughing competitions and all these wonderful things. And then we would have a really frank conversation about mental health. And, you know, musical guests and all these other things. And then that also morphed into something I do from time to time called Everyone's Talking, where I literally just go on the subway with people, which was just about going on the subway. And I put these Facebook events together, and just people would meet me at Spadina Station, and we would go on the subway and just talk to strangers and try and connect with them and just get to know them. You know, no agenda, nothing like that. Just trying to create connection in the world. And, you know, so much joy in my life I found because I got my mind off myself, you know. And even when you feel like you have nothing to give, it's like being there for someone else. That fills you up. You start to realize, oh my God, I've got so much to actually contribute. And but it's all created, you know. It's not just going to be handed to you. It's something that's self-generated, and it's like life is created through language. You know, I said I'm going to have a studio by this age. You know, I said I'm going to make X amount of money in the arts for a living this year, and had it show up because I got better and better and better at keeping my word everywhere. And so all that practice was huge for me in building some confidence, building some clarity. But it wasn't dealing with some real fundamental things either. You know, I want to acknowledge that. You know, I think that to really deal with your emotional well-being, that's not something that's going to be solved just by doing. You know, it's the human being, not a human doing paradox, you know? So what I've been doing more lately is taking more time to just truly meditate. And I realized how stupid it was that I resigned myself away from any kind of medication. And I started taking something again. Like, it's just been a week now of like the lowest dosage of Zoloft possible. But, you know, but I'm being cautious and I'm easing myself in. And I think it's making a difference. And because it's like, if a machine is broken, you can try and like repair it it's like, yeah, it's like trying to fix a car, but your arms are broken. Yeah. It's not going to work, you know, like you got to go to the doctor and get those arms healed, and then you can fix the car, yeah. You know? And so for me, it's more the emotional aspect that's at times still missing in my life, you know, just really being present to my feelings. And then you deal with, for me, depression is like having Joe Jackson in your mind, you know, like Michael Jackson's father, like just someone who's just abusive all the time. So someone who's just saying, you know, you're a fraud, like you're not feeling anything, and here you are making music and trying to like elicit feelings in others. And like dealing with that guilt my entire life while still writing things that like will really move people. And I'm like, how am I moving people? It's like, I'm only getting this on this Beethoven level where it's like, I experience it, but I'm not really experiencing it.
Right.
And so that's what I'm really trying to confront now. And I don't know what that looks like, you know, but talking about stuff is the first step, and creating some actions that make sense, you know, and doing something different. You know, it's that Einstein quote of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Absolutely.
Right. So, you know, I'm trying some Zoloft, and I'm actually, and what's great is because it's exactly what I thought would happen. Easing myself in, being gentle with myself to start things like this have been better for my overall productivity at keeping these things going. these things meaning like exercise, even like I would be so overwhelmed with work and with my head. So even just with the Zoloft, I'm able to do that now. And, you know, and so it all builds up from there.
Thank you so much for sharing that so authentically, so real. I love that you kind of went through the whole thing from the very beginning, you know, from you trying medication, then saying no to it, eventually going through personal development coaching to realize now that it actually may help me, right? And you can never know until you try it out. So I think you're incredible. Thank you so much for being yourself.
Well, thank you
for coming out today and sharing with our viewers, you know, our community, your community that's going to hear this, because you touched up on a lot of topics that a lot of people can resonate with. So thank you, Taylor. We really
you're very welcome.
appreciate it. Why don't you tell our viewers, whoever is watching today, if there's one thing you can leave them with, you know, people who are suffering today, what would that be?
To put it really simply, I would just say talk about it. You know, talk to anyone who is going to listen, even someone who doesn't want to listen, because that might be because of their own stigma and gunk about all this. You know, it's up to us as individuals to build the world that we want. And it's hardest at the start, unfortunately. It's cruel like that. You know, it'd be nice if it was like easy, if it was like a video game and it's easier at the start and then it gets harder. But no, it's like starting to build something, you know, whether it's a new brain pattern, you know, a new way of looking at life, a new relationship. Those are the things, to cultivate them correctly, that are always the roughest to start. And, you know, no matter how much your mind is just saying, you know, this is a waste of time, you know, this isn't you, you're a fraud, you know, whatever it is, just thank it for its opinion. And, you know, say there's a buffet over there if you want to eat some pigs in a blanket, and talk about it. Keep talking about it. And because that puts it out here and allows you to actually have perspective over it. You know, that's what songwriting is for me. It's a way to turn that noise into something that then I can observe. And I'm creating something every day. Sometimes it's just a horrible little 30-second dictation that nothing happens with it. Other times it's something massive, and I'm really pleased with it.
Right.
And I feel like I actually have something to say as a result. Yeah. Trying to make that record with a legendary producer like that was, you know, that really brought up how deep-seated a lot of my insecurities were, and made it really present to me. Oh my God, I've got to deal with myself on an emotional level, not just on a productivity, you know, organizational level. I'm neglecting half of my human experience, you know, and it kind of gives you some artificial highs, but it's not dealing with the real thing. And so I'm very grateful for that experience, and I'm very proud of the record that I got to make, and I can't wait to share it with people. I know that you're probably really concerned about time right now, but I was wondering, because I have a guitar here, I could sing something to maybe illustrate a song that was born out of trying to make sense of my head.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
All right.
Let's try to make it quick.
Okay. I'll just do this one. This isn't like a great song or anything like that, but it's nice. It's simple. It's like me trying to write a children's song for adults, you know, for existential adults or something like that. And my main music's much more sophisticated. So this was just me really just trying to put something down to remind myself. So just creating a mantra for myself. So. You are not your feelings. Your feelings are not you. You are not your feelings. Your thoughts and feelings too. Feelings are like the weather. Feelings come and go. They can change the landscape, but they aren't yours to hold. And I don't mean just when it's convenient, I mean it all the time. Feeling happy, feeling sad, you're not your feelings even when you're glad. When she's at the airport, falling out of view, or when you're in a hot tub, languid as a noodle, or laughing at the puppy, or crying at the moon. You are not your feelings. Your feelings are not you. One more verse. It's okay if you don't get it. I barely get it too. But you are not your feelings. And feelings are not you. All right.
That was incredible. On that note, and a very, very good note, we thank you, Taylor, for your time and for sharing with our viewers to empower more and more people. Thank you so much, Taylor. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for all the love, the support, and the feedback that we have been receiving towards the promotion of this discussion today. Send us a quick email at info@reachouttogether.com to further this discussion. Send us your questions, any ideas, your stories. If you have any potential interviews for this Impact series, we want to hear and learn more. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Continue to reach out together to maintain a good mental health.